The Border Management Authority has arrested an additional 5 people at the Beitbridge border post in Musina. So it brings the total number of arrests to 30. And all of those who have been arrested will be barred from entering South Africa for 5 years after attempting to cross without proper documentation. We'll talk about that and other issues as relates to South Africa's border post. But we start in Musina in Limpopo, where Commissioner Dr. Masiapato is joining us this morning. Hi, and thanks for your time. Compliments of the season to you. We know that you've seen firsthand the effects of the festive season, managing the various border posts across the country. Let's just talk about Beitbridge, because that's where you are this morning. Just give us the latest from your vantage point in terms of the volumes you're dealing with now. One expects those to have thinned out, perhaps?
Yeah, no, thank you very much, Imani, and compliments to you too. We really appreciate this opportunity as the Border Management Authority. Yes, indeed, I am here at Beitbridge. We are indeed processing people as they come back into the country after having exited. So on that basis, we have started our operation from the 1st of January until today. We will continue until the 15th. And this is what we describe as the return leg in as far as the implementation of our plan is concerned. In terms of the numbers in port, we are indeed doing the work in terms of processing the people. Just in the past 24 hours, we've been able to do just around 25,000 individuals that basically were processed into the country. So on that basis, we can indicate that if you look at the numbers that we exited, which was just below 400,000, we are definitely going to ultimately return almost the same kind of number or even more as we go towards the 15th of January. So that is how things are going. And indeed, the volumes are very much hectic.
So, I mean, that is a large amount of people, 25K. Can you explain, Mike, how your systems are able to distinguish between legitimate travelers and undocumented entrants without creating both the bottlenecks and the opportunity for corruption to take place?
Yeah, so basically what we do, Iman, when the people come back, we actually unleash all our 4 critical specialized areas. And that is the kind of work that we do. For instance, when people arrive in what we call the North Gate here in Beitbridge, we effectively implement our port health responsibilities, meaning that all of the people will have to be exiting the vehicles, and we have to do a screening over them in terms of checking if they have any kind of infectious or communicable disease. So that is basically the first part that we do. And immediately after everybody has passed that particular process, we then take them through into the second leg, and that is where we process them in terms of immigration. And of course, in this instance, as you will know, the majority of the people that we process here are from the SADC region, and therefore they qualify for 90-day visa entry into the country. And on that basis, we then have to be checking at the legitimacy of their passports. So in terms of determining whether the passport is legitimate or not, it is something that is an international protocol that the passport must be machine readable, which basically means that we put it through a machine and then it will give us all the biographic data of the individual. That is the validation of the passport. The second thing that we obviously do is to also check if the passport has been stepped out of where the person is coming from. In this instance, will be stepped out of Zimbabwe, as it were. So on that basis, we are then able to process. But the other thing that we do is to make sure that the person who's coming back into the country is not V-listed, meaning that the person is banned from entering South Africa. Once we pick up that, then we refuse entry, and that person will have to go back. And in the last leg, we do agricultural biosecurity as well as environmental biosecurity. And that basically means we have to be searching all their luggage to make sure they don't bring any undesirable things like your agricultural products, whether it's fruits and things like that, mangoes. We have people that will bring watermelons and things like that, and they're not acceptable. In those instances, we confiscate those things and then incinerate them, basically destroy them. That is basically how we do the work.
And that destruction happens right there at the border?
Yes, indeed, Iman. So we do have incinerator here. And what we basically do is after we have confiscated all of those particular items, after having been observed by our experts, we are then able to put them through the incinerator. We do have it here at the port, and we basically do the process here.
I want to go back to the paperwork. So you talked about the 5-year ban for undocumented entrants, but realistically, How are you able to enforce those? People use, fake identities. The documents might also be forged. Again, you can talk about the availability of proper biometric systems to be able to shore up that work. But how do you enforce these bans?
Yeah, you see, in terms of the bans, Iman, we do have what we call the enhanced movement control system, and that is where the V listing actually get affected. So anybody, for instance, who has been V listed is actually sitting within the system. So immediately after we then put the passport on the system, as I said, it is machine readable. It is the system that will tell us that this particular individual is not desirable, and therefore we have to then do further due diligence to understand what is the reason for undesirability. And then we find that no, the person has actually been banned from entering the country for the next 5 years. Maybe the person is left with a year, for example, because the person has been out for 4 years, as an example, and the person does not still qualify to enter the country. And maybe, by the way, let me also say this, Iman, in cases where somebody is banned, if there is a valid reason, that particular person can go to the Department of Home Affairs and lodge a what you call an appeal. And once the appeal has been lodged, then the department will inform us and the person's V list will be removed. There are various legitimate reasons. For instance, you were here in the country, you are supposed to be here for 90 days, and when you are left with a day or so, you are supposed to travel to the port, you then have an accident, and then you get into hospital, you get admitted for 5 days. So on that basis, you will not be able to exit, and therefore the system will then say that you overstayed and ban you. Therefore, you are going to then appeal with Home Affairs, produce all of your medical issues and all, and we will actually expunge that. So system is indeed able to assist us on that. And by the way, we work with Interpol for those that have committed criminal offenses in other jurisdictions.
I think it was last year, it might have been around Easter, if my memory serves me well, Mike, when we talked about the rollout of advanced surveillance, we had the drones, we had the body cams, and South Africa was experimenting with different technologies, innovative technologies to manage our border posts better and to ensure that there weren't illegal entries into the country. So I want an update on that in the context of still hundreds of undocumented migrants entering South Africa. And that, you have people who might try to, or have been trying to get into South Africa through places that aren't the formal points of entry. So, holes in the wall, essentially, just for want of a better term, or, getting through different points. How are you managing that surveillance, and how much risk is there on that score?
Yeah, no, thanks, Iman. Yes, indeed, your memory is right. It was in April 2025 when we basically launched the BMA drones. We got our own pilots having been trained. So as we speak now, the drones are no longer just a festive season issue. It is a permanent feature. The colleagues are now using it to do the work. And I want to indicate that the numbers that we talk about in terms of the interceptions that we did during the exit leg, which is 7,152, just nationally. And of course, we are consolidating those for the return leg. It is primarily because of the assistance of the drones. So what we do, Iman, we put the drones on air, and then we are able to monitor all of the vulnerable areas. One thing that we must emphasize is people will always attempt to go to the borderline, but they always do not far from the port, because the main intention is to still link back to the corridor and be able to get transportation. So what we basically do is we are able to put the drone on air. We follow through on when individuals are attempting to cross from the other side. In terms of here in Beitbridge, they will try to cross the Limpopo River with some bit of makeshift boats, and immediately they hit our shores. We basically have to be waiting through our response teams, and we are able to hit on those. And that is why yesterday, as you have indicated in the morning, we intercepted around 25 of the individuals that were trying to enter the country illegally. And of course, in the afternoon, we did 5. All in all was 30. But a day before that, we did around 99 of them. And out of the 99, 2 of them were facilitators. As we always say, facilitators, we brought them to Musina police station. We charged them for aiding and abetting, and we do not deport them. So the drones are very much helpful, Iman. It helps us to do the work better. We don't have to rove and do normal patrols and all of those. But what we do, we basically put a response team, and we're able to communicate with them. When they pound on something that is real on the ground.
Before I let you go, I want to talk about the fact that this is a lucrative trade for the organised criminal syndicates that facilitate either fraudulent documents or facilitate the passage of people illegally into South Africa. Talk to us about intelligence-led policing and whether you've been able to break the back of these syndicates. Have you been able to make any high-value arrests in this regard?
Yeah, no, thank you very much, Iman, on that. Let me put it this way. The issue that we do, in the BMA, we have established something called National Border Targeting Center. That is the center where the analysis are done, the trends are done, intelligence is provided. We have all the intelligence structures that sit in the National Targeting Center. They provide all of the data. They tell us when things are shifting. They also told us that Zimbabweans were avoiding Beitbridge. They are going to Botswana, to Grobler's Bridge. And that is why we intercepted over 3,400 that side out of the 7,000 I spoke about. So the reality of it is we do exactly that. Now, what we basically do, Iman, is at the level of border space, we actually intercept and arrest what we call facilitators. Here in Beitbridge, they're called goma-gomas. In other posts, they're called other things. Those are the ringleaders that do the trade. For instance, they charge people 400 rands to be facilitated through the Limpopo River. And if they put 40 people in a boat and ultimately you have 400 per person, it's a very lucrative trade. And that is why when we arrest those, we make sure that they get into the system. In other words, we take them to court. Just in April, if you remember, 114 of those were intercepted nationally. The majority were in Beitbridge. Now, the key issue is that is the level that we operate on. But the bigger people that will be dealing with, for example, illicit trade in cigarettes and all, those ones are being handled by the Hawks, which is the elite unit of the police in dealing with the broader issue of organized crime.
All right. Interesting and fascinating. And I know I've got to let you go back to work. Dr. Mike Masiapato, thank you for talking to us this morning and sharing with us those updates.